Okay.
Hey everybody, welcome to JB Prince and What's New. Sorry, we weren't sure the camera was on there for a second. I am super excited to have a guest here today. We had a guest last week and now we have a guest yet again all the way here from Olympia, Washington is Mr. Mareko Maumasi. He is for lack of a better term, one of the premier master craftsmen or bladesmiths related to chef's cutlery, which is kind of a rare thing. I think there's a lot of custom makers out there, but very few specifically focus on chef knives, if you will. So he has come here today mainly because we are going to be, when we can, stocking some of his things for our customers to look at and hopefully want to purchase. These are extremely beautiful knives. The craftsmanship is exceptional, and in addition to them being as beautiful as they are workhorses. They're work friendly, so don't let the good looks fool you. But I'm going to stand here and just maybe ask Mareko a few questions. But before I do that, to just kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about, because I know this camera is not so great on close-ups, I'm actually going to bring one up a little closer if you don't mind. Excuse me. Come out in front of you. So just to give you an idea, this is about a 225 millimeter Giotto or chef's knife. It is Damascus, forged by this gentleman right behind me. Again, all handcrafted in Olympia, Washington, with this beautiful kind of integral handle style. You'll notice there's no rivets here. This is all kind of sort of a one-piece handle construction that is then fitted to a one-piece blade construction, and we have a few examples of it here. And again, I don't think the camera does it as much justice as holding it and seeing it in the flesh, but this is kind of sort of an awesome chef's knife.
You'll get some pictures up on Instagram.
Yeah, we definitely will. We definitely will. We'll do that, and we'll try and do some small videos to kind of get you guys in tune with what it is that it's all about. And welcome. I know you're a long way from home.
Yeah, I am.
I know you don't get to New York too often.
No.
But we're super excited to see you here. And so we have, in essence, 3 examples of Mareko's work here in front of us, all a little bit different. And maybe that's where we begin. What makes them kind of sort of unique and distinct, I guess, in their own right. And I will let the expert kind of maybe quickly go through that for you. And then if you guys have any questions, we'll try and field those too. And I'll try and chime in when I can. Shoot.
All right. How's it going, everybody? All right. So really quick, just a little bit. Oh, also, thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, no
problem. Appreciate it. Really quick, a little bit about me. I'm from Olympia, Washington, as he said. I've only actually been doing this on my own for 3 years, or 3.5 years, going on 4. I worked for 3 years before going out on my own for Bob Kramer, and that's where I learned like most all of the kind of like the fit and finish and the attention to the detail, the skills that it takes to make high quality crafts, well crafted kitchen knives, as well as forging the Damascus. One of the most distinctive qualities of my chef's knives is the integral bolster. So essentially that means that the steel that's in the blade is the same steel that transitions up into this bolster area that then transitions down to the handle. I almost exclusively do full burl block handles. So that means they're not interrupted by any rivets or tangs. This one, these other 2 do have pommel rivets at the bottom to help secure the handle material from the bottom as well as from the top in the bolster area. I think probably also one of the other distinct features of my handles is that the belly of the handle is a little higher up. Instead of traditionally being right in the middle, I scoot it up because for most people who are working long hours with chef's knives, they're working in a pinch grip. And that, by moving the belly up, that keeps the belly in the middle of your hand. And then when you go to a hammer grip, so say you're doing a push cut or whatever, if you need to hold it in a hammer grip, it's still secure. It actually feels kind of like a hatchet in a way. And so they all have that. The butt caps at the pommels of the handle flares out really nicely all the way around, so it has really nice contours. They're fully contoured. So they're very ergonomic. They feel really comfortable in the hand. You know, I come from a background of working in kitchens myself. I worked in restaurants for 7 years. And one of the things that, or actually constantly, I was like, why doesn't this chef's knife do this? Or why does it feel like that? You know, why is this really hard and sharp corner here like this? All these things drove me crazy. So now, when I got into making chef's knives of my own design, it gave me the opportunity to put all of those kind of design details into, especially the handle, because the handle is really, it's the user interface for the knife. You know, the blade is the business end, but the relationship with the blade, the tool, the cutting end, the working end of the blade is the handle. And so that was a really important part to me when it comes to construction, making my knives.
Sorry to interrupt,
go ahead.
but just to give like a quick recap, because like I said, this camera is a little strange at times, but I don't know if this will give you a better idea of some of the finer points that Mareko just kind of sort of went over. But again, beautiful burl wood, one-piece construction. See this kind of belly here is again designed to give you what Mareko described as a good kind of almost like a hatchet grip, if you will. Really puts you where you want to be in the pinch grip, and then this pommel on the end really prevents any slippage on pull cuts and things like that. I mean, like amazing, amazing craftsmanship. This is all done by hand. If I still have trouble believing it, but it's awesome. So you guys can kind of sort of get an idea of it from a few different angles, and then so like he says, it's you know. It's the ultimate in chef knives for us here, and it's really personal, right? Like he says, the handle is where you really are getting to experience the knife. And so I will be quiet now, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about the blades.
Yeah, so all three of these knives that we have down here, they're all forged from Damascus Steel. I make the Damascus Steel myself. A couple of them, or actually just the one with the ironwood handle, has mosaic pattern steel in it. And so that just means that there's a much more complicated pattern that's put into the metal before then forging the steel out. The second one has like a kuroichi. I always get it wrong. Kind of finish, so it's a black patinaed blade with a polished edge, but it's also a sandmine construction with Damascus cladding on the outside. So the core is 52100 with Damascus cladding on the sides. It's my topography style patterning. And the reason I call it that is just because, you know, it's got kind of like, it looks like a topographical map on there.
So just a quick jump back. So when we say Damascus, and you can chime in, but what we really mean by that is when he says he's making it himself, it's a very elaborate layering process of steel that you arrive at this pretty unique pattern.
Yeah.
So similar to when you make puff dough or you make croissant dough, it's always this kind of layering, and the end result is multiple layers of a super interesting steel. But I guess the question is to you, what's the added benefit of that layering system?
So, for the most part, there's an aesthetic. There's definitely an aesthetic quality. That's really the biggest functioning part. You know, in history, when they were making, like in Japan, they would make tamahagane. Some of the tamahagane had really high carbon, some of it didn't. And so they had to do this kind of mixing and kneading the steel to get it to a homogeneous carbon distribution throughout the metal. And so that's why you get all the folding. Nowadays, our steel is really great stuff. It's really clean, and so it's easy to have a nice steel to make a knife from. So aside from aesthetics, over time and use, because they're both high carbon steels, both make really great cutting steels, but because they're different, they heat treat slightly differently, just on a very small level. So over time and use, especially along the cutting edge, the steel, and this works with mono steel knives too, just straight carbon steel knives. The steel wears down over use, and depending on how you store it and what kind of surface you're working on, and so and that's when you need to sharpen. But what happens with the Damascus, as the Damascus steel wears, it wears slightly differently. So it actually grows kind of more of aggressive cutting edge. If you think of it like shark's teeth in a way, where as the material wears away, more teeth is coming back out. So it has this feel of staying sharper longer, and that's just because it still has that aggressive kind of micro sawtooth edge to do the work. Now, if you really need a polished edge because you're doing really fine cuts on proteins and stuff like that, then then I would, you can definitely pull the blade back up to a really fine polish if that's what you want to do, or work with a Sanmai blade. Sanmai still has the aesthetic of the Damascus, but it also has the mono steel core, so you can have that really fine polished edge if you want that.
Awesome, awesome. That's the cleanest Damascus explanation I've ever heard. And then, I mean, have we missed anything? You guys have any questions out there? Is anything coming in over the question world? Okay, no problem. Anything we missed for you that you want to add?
Not that I can think of right now.
Awesome. I think the important thing to remember is that we now have these in our New York City showroom. If you want to touch them and feel them, please come by, check them out, and understand what it is that this gentleman is doing and the amount of work that goes into. Just to recap, and I probably should have touched upon this a little bit earlier. Generally, what does it take for you to produce one blade?
Time-wise?
Time-wise.
Yeah, it's anywhere from 32 hours to to like 40 hours to build one knife, and sometimes it takes up to 3 days just to make the steel that I need to then forge the blade. If it's a mono steel blade, I just start with a chunk of steel, I start forging away. But for the Damascus, especially some of the mosaic stuff that has a lot more elaborate patterning going on, it takes time, and it's a long process. It's very labor intensive, and so that's one of the biggest things that factors into the time.
So yeah, I mean, it's just something to keep in perspective in this world of instant gratification that I'm also very guilty of. That this is really, again, a tool, a working man's tool, but also done with a lot of love and a lot of care, and something to always keep in the back of your head that it's amazing to have people like Mareko still left in the world that are willing to invest that kind of time and really keep traditions that are eons old, it seems like. And so, again, thank you very much for joining us today. If you have any questions about the knives, we will not sort of put these online for obvious reasons. They're super duper limited. We encourage you to call in 800-473-0577. We have a gentleman who works here in our showroom. His name is Jason. He'd be happy to talk to you about these knives. If he happens not to be here, I will be around most of the time. My name is Tim Music. You guys may have seen me on these videos a few other times. But again, thank you very much for coming in. Mareko, thank you for stopping in, because like I said, I know you're a long way from home.
Yeah.
And come see these awesome knives, and have a great weekend if we don't get back to you. Later, everybody.